Demand more. Get Allmax.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Big B Road to Junior Nationals. Today was video number 5. We did leg workout, and we're going to go over a few topics. Establishing goals, defining weaknesses, building muscle versus losing muscle, and the role of cardio in fat loss. First thing about establishing goals is you have to know where to start. For me personally, I go off of the last contest that I competed in. After I'm done with my show, I go back and look at the pictures. I go over my contest prep, everything that I could have done, maybe should have done better. I pick out pictures and I look at myself in these pictures and I kind of critique myself and find different things that I'd like to improve on. You know, so whether with you, if you're a competitor or you're not a competitor, you know, you pick a point A and you go from there into point B. So you find the things you'd like to improve on and be realistic about it. Don't expect monumental changes, you know, within a couple weeks. You have to be practical. You know, understand that any kind of quality change or improvement is going to take time. So consistency is going to be the key. So like with me, I took off almost an entire year. I stayed focused on certain body parts, for instance, like my legs and shoulders, more thickness on my back. And I did specific movements on a more regular basis than I would have previously to try to bring out those body parts. Second topic is cutting versus bulking, or building muscle versus losing fat. I get a lot of people ask me, or a lot of people will say, oh, I want to bulk up, and then I want to lose the weight, or I want to lose the weight first and I want to build up the muscle. You know, the good thing about that is that you can kind of do both things at once. You know, with the food that you're going to be consuming, whether it's losing weight or building muscle, they're pretty much relative. It just really basically boils down to the portion of foods that you're taking in. So the more muscle tissue that you have, that actually supports metabolism. So if you're eating the right kind of macronutrients and good carbs and good fats, and you're weight training regularly and you're keeping your cardio up, you're going to be building muscle tissue. And at the same time, you're going to be burning more fat, because the macros and the calories you're going to be taking in aren't going to be in excess amounts, and they're not going to be like simple sugars and trans fats, things like that, to where they're going to go into fat storage. So the good news is that if you're wanting to build muscle and lose fat, you can do it at the same time. So you are what you eat. Keep your food clean. You know, if you're getting ready for a contest, you already know you need to keep your food clean 110% all the time. You know, if you're just somebody who's trying to lose weight or improve your physique or your figure, then, you know, have a cheat meal here and there to stay sane. You're not trying to be, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Olympia by next week, so be realistic. But keep your food intake clean and keep in the gym consistently and work hard, and your improvements will come. Last topic is the role of cardio in lipolysis. There are a couple different ways of burning body fat. You know, with bodybuilding, most common is, you know, going on a treadmill, putting the incline up high, walking slower for a longer period of time, and that is known to burn body fat. Me personally, I'm a big fan of intervals. I used to do the incline on a high treadmill, you know, 15, don't hold on. I mean, I still do, don't get me wrong, but I'm a big fan of the Stairmaster. You know, simply because with the stairs, you do have resistance, and with the treadmill, the belt is rotating your feet, the resistance is a lot less than the Stairmaster, to where you're actually contracting the muscle. So you're going to get a lot more calorie expenditure from that, increasing your body core temperature, which inevitably will burn body fat, getting your heart rate elevated. So with me, a lot of my clients as well, is I'll have them do intervals where it's 30 seconds slow, 30 seconds on, or 1 minute and 30 seconds high and low. And I mean, it can vary, you know, from anything. But the big thing with burning fat with your cardio is just that you want to get your heart rate up, and you want to get your body core temperature high as well. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, whether it's outside the gym, jumping rope, you know, running outside, sprints, you know, inside the gym, stairs, treadmill. But essentially what you want to do is you want to get your heart rate elevated, and you want to get that body core temperature up to where you're burning that body fat. Today, killed some quads, a little bit of hamstrings, went through probably about 4 or 5 different movements. I hit legs on Sunday, so legs were a little bit fatigued, but it's the only thing that I haven't hit so far for you guys as far as this Allmax series goes, so I want to make sure we cover everything. So we're going a little bit heavier. I'm going to go through some of the movements that we did, a couple different techniques that I use, and give you some insight on maybe why I do some of the movements the way that I do. I'm not saying these are all the right ways, but they're the things that I do. They work for me. There's a lot of different methods, a lot of different theories out there. So, you know, if you want to give them a shot of your own and see how they feel, go for it, and we'll go from there. But I'll get in depth and show you guys what I'm talking about. Here we go. First movement, did the hammer strength leg extension. I prefer this piece over some of the regular machines just because of the tension. It's a little bit closer to a freeway movement, so the higher up that you go or the farther out you go, the greater the tension is on the machine. So I feel like you get a really good squeeze with this piece. And also you can see on the machine how there's two different pegs. One is farther back, one is further out forward, and you'll see in my second or third set how I adjust the weight on the further peg, the peg that's further out, and that actually puts a lot more tension on the quad, so it makes it a lot more difficult. That's one of the better ways, or reason I like this machine a lot better. Did a few sets there, got some really good squeezes, pretty exhausted the quads. I think we did 4 sets, didn't go too heavy, just was really focusing on the squeeze and the eccentric on the way down. Second movement was the leg press. Loaded it up on the bottom, hit a few on the top, went nice and deep, hit a little bit more on the quads. Always making sure to keep your hips and your butt on this pad. When you start to go down too low and max out that range of motion, your back has a tendency to roll off the pad, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on your lower back. So I always imagine I let my knees, on the way down, I let my knees come upward, and that's actually going to draw my hams and glutes to lower the weight rather than putting stress on my knees and my quads. And then when I push, I drive with my heels, which is primarily quads and glutes and a little bit of hams at the top. So really be conscious and aware of how you're doing the weight. Don't just get in there and be mindless and push the weight around like a freak. Make sure that you have the muscle under control the entire time. Third movement, we did stiff leg deadlifts. This is a great movement for hamstrings. It's a compound movement. You can vary your foot positioning closer, outside, toes pointed out a little bit, wide stance, whatever. But it's kind of a partial movement on the hamstrings where I pretty much have my legs almost locked out. I go all the way down in my stretch and I keep my chest out and my head up, and it's more of just a little bit of a pop with my torso. I come up several inches and I don't go past 90 degrees, and the tension on my hamstrings is there 100% the entire time. I don't have any back involved in that whatsoever, so it's all hams, and I squeeze my glutes at the top a little bit as well, but the tension is unreal. So I will also, like I said, I'll vary my foot positioning where I'll go closer and it kind of hits the outsides. I'll move my feet outside, point my toes out, it'll hit my inner hamstrings a little bit more. So that's something you can play with a little bit, but you don't have to go real heavy. I only did 185 with this, and I felt the hell out of it. Fourth movement, we did front squats on a Smith machine. I think we're up to 305. Again, nothing too heavy, but like I said, my legs are fatigued, so we did a few sets there, maybe 10 to 12 reps. I wasn't counting, but I like to do them on the Smith machine just because when I'm training, I sweat my ass off, and it's a pain in the ass trying to hold that damn bar on my shoulders and it's falling off. So I'd much rather have the stability of a Smith machine and be able to focus on pushing with my legs rather than having to balance and fiddle around with the bar on my shoulders. So this particular Smith machine has an angle on it, so I'm able to drop down real low, keep it on my heels, and focus on squeezing my quads and my glutes on the way up. Always keep your chest up, always keep your head up, keep the weight on your heels, and don't let your knees go over your toes too much. And really, like I said, really keep those quads tight at the top. Fifth movement, finished off with some lying leg curls. Particular piece I like a lot. Just it's kind of an old school seasoned machine. It's got really good tension on it, but nothing crazy about that. I always keep my back arched up rather than hunching over the bench. It takes a lot of pressure off your lower back and keeps everything on the hamstrings. I do one a couple ways. If I almost go all the way down, pretty much locking on my knees, and that's going to keep the hamstring real tight. So as soon as I start to come up, the contraction is much stronger. Otherwise, on the way down, I'll actually try to push the weight away from me as much as I can, letting my legs unfold. It really works the eccentric portion of the movement, putting even more tension on my hamstrings, or sometimes I'll incorporate both. So not a whole lot of science behind that movement, but it's definitely effective and one of my favorites to finish with on hamstrings. All right, everybody, thanks for joining in here for video number 5, Big B Road to Junior Nationals. We'll see you next time. Video number 6 should be pretty much a week away from the show. We're going to be showing you a little bit of the last minute things that we do to dial everything in before the contest, a little bit of posing, some different things that I do with my food intake, sodium, different things like that. And pretty soon you'll see what happens on stage June 15th in Chicago. See you next time.